ओम ओम सदाशिवसमारंभा शंकराचार्य मध्यमा अस्मदाचार्य पर्यंता वंदे गुरुपरंपरा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि। ओम शांत शांत शांति। श्री गुरुं परमानंदम वंदे स्वानंद विग्रहम् यस्य सन्निध्यमात्रेण चिदानंदायते तनुः। So in the last class, we were talking about this Sadhanga. So even though Patanjali highlights Ashtanga, but here Ashtanga means 8 limbs. Sadhanga means 6 limbs. So even though Patanjali has highlighted Ashtanga, yoga has got 8 limbs. However, here in this context, Sadhanga, 6 limbs have been highlighted, which started from asana, pranayama, then comes pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. Actually, in the last class, as we saw very carefully, that even though as we look at very differently, that each angas has its own benefit. If you look at here, as we saw, by asana, by doing asana properly, by postures, you can say what will happen, that rujahanti, all the diseases are destroyed. And of course, by pranayama, all patakas, all duskarmas, all papas, omissions and commissions are being, nullified, taken care because of no more involvement in that. And of course, by pratyahara, manasa vikaram, the mind fluctuation, or you can say disturbances, the worries, anxieties, unwanted thoughts, unresolved thoughts, unattended thoughts are being managed by pratyahara. Whereas when it comes to after pratyahara, definitely when it comes to dharana, so from dharana comes that dhairyam, the patience. And when a person comes to dhyanam, so dhyanam, the person's thinking level becomes higher. And once this thinking level becomes higher, he said, adhutam chaitanyam udeti iti. So that means a wonderful, wondrous chaitanyam, the way of thinking is being developed. Same thing, you start looking at entirely differently. This is the beauty when you spend more and more time in meditation. And finally, by getting into or in the process of moksha, now the person is able to give up shubha and ashubha karma, is not interested to indulge in any sort of karma, whether it is auspicious or inauspicious. That's why come moksha. Now question may arise. Fantastic. So what about this yama and niyama? People also talk that other two, the first two sets, which also is equally important. But here, very carefully, Gorakshanath ji left it. Why? Because always we look at especially advanced text and we expect that people will have minimum qualification. Not that, It is like, the person does not know how to write properly A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Now joins in, master degree or PhD. What will happen? But in Vedanta, it happens, okay? Without prior qualification, without basic qualification, without any effort, you can straight attend Brahmastra class. It's amazing, okay? And you can say, look, I have also studied Brahma Sutra. Fantastic, nothing wrong. Brahma Sutra or Brahma Sutra, that you know better, okay? Brahma means delusion, okay? However, here he says that Yama and Niyama takes care of your both Bahya and Antaranga Suddhi. And if Yama and Niyama are not being followed, definitely the person will never have both. Bahya means external purification and Antaranga means internal purification. And because of which, what will happen? The person's mind, body, behavior, food habit, everything will be related to tamas or rajas. So the effect of this tamas and rajas, what would be? That malam and vikshepa. So malam means impurities, vikshep means agitation. So if malam and vikshepa, I have laziness, letharginess, I don't feel like doing this thing, that thing, a lot of complications. And the vikshepa means agitation. So that means my mind is in the level of either tamas or rajas or in between sometimes. Now, when this happens, that means yama and niyama are not being taken care by me properly. So that's why here he skips that yama and niyama. Many text also skips. In fact, most of the traditional text highlights only 6 limb of yoga, sadanga, not ashtanga. And of course, later on, when Patanjali put it, that ashtanga, because he took that yama niyama, even though he puts 5 yama and niyamas, but earlier it was a 10, 10, 20. So 20 he condensed into 5, 5, 10. However, coming back here, now when a person does this thing, it is a process. But if a person wants to dwell upon pranayama, because here practice is involved. So we said what? Starting with 12 pranayama. So 12 sets of pranayama becomes what? Pratyahara. So that means it's a very clear indication for all of us. Whenever I am not able to create a distance from anything or anybody in my life or from any situation, what I need to do? Let me do 12 rounds of Nadi Shuddhi properly with proper method. Then and there you will discover the pratyahara has to happen, means the withdrawal of sense organ has to happen. I remember one story. A person comes to Uttarakasi after spending a lot of time in pranayama. So he was going back in the, I'm very old story I'm talking about, he was going back in the car. In fact, car was about to fall down and everybody started jumping out. So driver somehow managed, driver is asking, hey, please, can you get out quickly? So that once you get out, I will jump out so that vehicle may go, so that we all will be saved. Person is saying, is it so? Is it necessary? Oh, okay. All are screaming, but this fellow is in a different world. This is called impact of pratyahara, you understand? Even in a serious situation, you don't bother. You really are, calm. So that's why 12 rounds of Nadi Suddhi, or you can say pranayama here, becomes pratyahara. So anytime you want to withdraw. And of course, again, add 12 rounds of pratyahara, means 144 rounds of Nadi Suddhi becomes what? Dharana. You will discover, what you will discover? You will discover dhairyam, patience. Like the example I give that person. He is having super duper patience, okay? Doesn't matter. And imagine on that you add 12 more into 12. Then what becomes? It becomes dhyanam. Again into 12, it becomes samadhi. So seeing this aspect, that's why when people try to practice 108 times Surya Namaskar, I really somehow don't recommend because nowhere has been taught. But here at least try to practice 144 times Nadi Shuddhi. Then at least you can see the difference in your life. However, let us not get into. So here he says, look, if this is the case, each one takes care of it. Now, I need to work that how I should proceed from, especially pranayama that is in my hand. From pranayama, go to pratyahara. From pratyahara, let me go to dharana, then dhyanam, and let the samadhi take over me. Now question may arise. What happens in samadhi? Continue. Yat samadho param jyotihi.
Samadho param jyotihi.
Anantam vishwato mukham.
Antam vishwato mukham.
Tasmin drishte kriya karma yata yatam na vidyate.
Tasmin drishte kriya karma yata yatam na vidyate.
He says, look, this is the purpose of samadhi. Because samadhi generally misunderstood by yoga people. And to clarify, we have different methods. So that's why samadhi generally divided by people into different categories. One, yoga people. So they think going to a state is called samadhi. Number one. Whereas in Vedanta Shastra, we look at samadhi differently. And colloquially, culturally, we look at samadhi in a different way. I was in samadhi. Sometimes deep sleep is considered as also samadhi. Because I did not know anything. Only others knew that I was snoring. However, that's why there are two types of samadhi. We say samadhi, mahasamadhi. So when a person lives, passes away, so we call what? Especially sadhu, mahasamadhi. So we accept or believe in his jivadasa when he was alive. During that time, he might have gone or he must have gone to samadhi many times, and this becomes mahasamadhi. We have words, prayana, mahaprayana, samadhi, mahasamadhi. So these are the things colloquially we use, and it is being used by everybody. So here, Gorakshanath, being from this Natha Sampradaya, is a unique approach where it combines both yoga and Vedanta. So keeping that in mind, he gives beautiful concept. Yat samadhu param jyotihi anantam vishwato mukham. Tasmin drushte kriya karma yata ayatam na vidyate. So that means what? Samadhi, in samadhi. So this is the translation you may take. So in samadhi means what? It is restricted in time. So there is a time limitation. This is the problem comes. We'll be seeing also in Vedantic angle how it says. He says, look, Parama Jyoti Anantam Vishwata Mukham. So that means what? The person in Samadhi will be able to see that Param Jyoti, the light that is absolute. And what happens? It's a Vishwata Mukham facing all over, all the sides. Means all pervasive, all ityartha. So the person is able to see all pervasive light. And then what happens? Seeing that, tasmin drushte, abiding with that, seeing that, understanding that, what happens? Kriya karma yata yatam na vidyate iti. So the person will never be able to involve in any action. Let it be ritual, let it be any sort of day-to-day activities. So now when you look at this aspect, in fact, I was going through, few beautiful concept. How and why we say? Because especially Gorakshanath ji being this Nath Sampradaya, so he takes care of all Vedantic text. In fact, I was looking at very nicely one place is being said that look, in Samadhi, we look at in Vedanta, that the Paramatma is understood as Jyoti Swarupam, so that it becomes easier. Not that you see the Jyoti, light. Then what happened? Blue light, red light, and all the light, confusion will come. So here, not darsana does not mean seeing, it is understanding. Like, sometimes we say, do you understand? Did you get it? Do you see this point? What does it mean? In English, we have this expression. Do you get my point? Do you understand this point? Do you see this point? So you emphasize. So seeing is understanding. So once you put as understanding, it is not limited in time. Can you see this point? So you are not restricting at all. So the samadhi does not mean restricted to time. You can go to that. Then that understanding continues. Or else, as long as you are in samadhi, you are perfect. The moment you come out of samadhi, you are other way around. You understand the concept? Like, as long as you are drunkard, you forget everything, you are a king. The moment that goes down, you are ordinary person back to the square. How is it? How? Here he says that the person is able to see, understand Paramatma as what? Jyoti Swarupam, the nature of the light. And that light is all pervasive, Vishvamitra, everywhere. It means only light, there is nothing. And to support, and once you see that everything is light, you are light. In fact, there is no difference between you and all these things. Then what happens? Where is Janma Marana? Where is Shubha Shubha Karma? Where is Karma Karma? And which has been discussed in different Upanishads. Here, Annapurna Upanishad highlights Samadhi Sambhyutpatti Parajivikata Prati Nityah Sarvagato Hyatma Kutastho Doshavarjitah. So, very carefully, he puts Samadhi is nothing. Samadhi is the knowledge of oneness of both Jiva and Paramatma, Jivatma and Paramatma. Because the Paramatma is Nityaha, eternal, Sarvagataha, all pervasive, and Kutastaha, Kutavat Tishtati, very stable. And Dosha Varjitaha, free from all doshas, all defects. And that is me, you understand? So this jnana takes place in samadhi. That's why we say in life at least once it's better or interesting to get into nirvikalpaka samadhi. So there are two types of samadhi. Let me also share with you people. One is, there are two types of samadhi. One is called savikalpaka, other one is called nirvikalpaka. Savikalpaka samadhi you experience every moment if your mind is sattvic. Sattvic mind will experience more and more savikalpaka samadhi. If your mind is rajasic or tamasic, let us not discuss. How? For example's sake, when you are seeing a beautiful landscape, so for a moment, what happens? You are one with the landscape. There is no difference between you and landscape, the seer scene and object of scene. You understand? So where this Triputi, the seer, seeing, and the object are one and same. This is called Triputi. Definitely, that is called Samadhi. So while keeping your eyes, you are in Samadhi. While listening to something, you don't understand that you are listener or somebody is talking or process of listening happening. There is no difference. That time you are also in Samadhi. Even if the best example we give, in hot summer, you come and somebody gives you cold water. The first sip that you take, that is also Samadhi. So you forget that you are thirsty, that you are drinking, and there is cold water. That's why you have throat problem later on, okay? That's another problem. So a person experiences Savikalpaka Samadhi now and then. And which is not a big thing. That one need to be aware of it. Then extend to Nirvikalpaka. Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, where you keep your eyes closed, consciously you work in such a way, this is being extended. And in lifetime, once it is worth to get into Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. And here that is being highlighted. In that state, in that atmosphere, it's like you need a particular time period to build up yourself. And there you understand Jiva and Paramatma. And especially what happens once you get into that, after coming out of that, one big thing happens, that all your worries and anxieties, all your limited thinking will not affect you. It will come and pass. This is a really amazing thing happens. Once is over. And here he says, also Sandilya Upanishad also talks the same language. Atha Samadhi Jivatma Paramatma Aikyavastha Triputi Rahita Paramananda Swarupa Suddha Chaitanyatmika Bhavati. So Sandilya Upanishad also talks the same way. So he says, look, Jivatma and Paramatma need to be understood. So the person sees no difference, experiences no difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. And that's why what happens? He says, look, this is something to be understood. And this is where Triputi Rahita means Gyata, Jnanam, and Gya. So Gyata means knower, Jnana means knowledge, and Gya, that is to be known, object of knowledge, are not existing. There is no differences at all. And interestingly, the person understands Paramanandam, the Atma, that is which is Paramanandam. Paramanandam means the absolute happiness, which is Suddham, pure, Chaitanyam, awareness. That is indeed called Samadhi. So keeping this Vedantic approach, Gorakshanath highlighted. So what did he highlight? We saw. So he highlighted that, look, the Samadhi tasmin drushte kriya karma yata yatam na vidyate iti. Not only that, param in Samadhi, yat Samadhi param jyoti anantam vishwatamukam iti drushyate. So that means what? Now the person is able to see this, understand this. Okay, I understand everything, but how to do, what to do? Let us read, even though we have not given the translation. Sammadhasanamidramanghriyuvalam कर्णाक्षिनासा पुटाद्वाराणि अंगुलीभिर्नियम्य पवनं वक्त्रेण सम्पूरितम् ध्यात्वा वक्ष्यसि वन्यपानसहितम् मूर्ध्नि स्थितं धारयेद्देवं याति विशेषतत्त्वसमतां योगीश्वरस्तन्मयः Please be aware, recorded, okay? Be aware of the situation. Problem is, you people are not aware of the situation. Never become emotional, okay? Because all these are recorded. After 20 years, 30 years also, you'll be able to find out where you went wrong. However, coming back to the point. He says, look, what is to be done? First of all, what we need to do is, he highlights to do this, to get into Samadhi. First, you need to have asana suddhi. And here he highlights to have siddhasana siddhi. That's why, what is sambandha samedham? Samedham means, like, you put the one leg to the perineum, push, and another leg on the top of it. So this asana indicates called being in siddhasana. Sambandha means being in siddhasana iti. Then what happens? Now you need to do, after siddhasana, you need to do sanmukhi mudra, which we have already taught. So take the help of both hands, fingers. So once you take the help of both the fingers, what you need to do? So karna, chakshu, eyes, nasha, then finally here the mouth. Now to be closed. So once it is being closed, means indirectly and directly both, all the dwaras, all the gates are closed. Here you take care of 7, down below 2 also taken care. Then what happens? Once you do that, then very carefully you need to now in Muladhara, there is Apana. Now you need to pull that Apana along with the fire, Jalatragni also. In such a way, you have to pull it and bring to your Bhaksha, the heart. And it has to come to this Anahata Chakra. That's why making this, this prana to come up, apana to come up along with prana is a big exercise. There are certain tricks I think we should work on sometime. So these are the small tricks makes a big difference. Like instantly, you can change your energy. You might have observed me sometimes. How long does it take for me to change my energy? Have you ever observed, noticed? Instantly a second. So there are certain tricks and techniques, okay? It's not that simply how it works. And you can do it. It's not that you cannot do it. And once this happens, now what happens is slowly, now you need to take up. It's a really long process of working. That's why I gave you the example of, blowing, you can keep blowing. There is something I saw some childhood, we saw the thing. We keep blowing, one bulb will be moving, okay? And if you don't do, the bulb will not keep moving. There are a lot of toys are available. Here, you do in such a way, first, it may not move. So if it doesn't move, there will be a lot of heat in your abdomen. Sometimes you will have constipation. Sometimes you have a lot of other things. That means you have to need to take care of your malam. Yama and niyama are not taken care. So that's why all these things we follow under the guidance of a teacher. There, the teacher becomes ultimate. No Shastra, nothing. Because Shastra will not go to minutely. But teacher looking at you will understand where you are going wrong. That's why the Shraddha, ultimate Shraddha comes there. No, Shastra says this thing, or you told that time other thing. Hey, I told that time, you different person. Now you are different person, okay? Like, you have to, understand what is the context. A lot of things. So that's why when you look at the situation, you can understand. Sometimes I ask you people to find out how the things moves in your life. So everything is reflected in this. Let me not get into that. However, he says, look, once you start bringing it, then slowly from your anahata, vishuddha, and goes to agya. He doesn't mention, he will say sasrara. Then from agya, you have to take to sasrara chakra. And there, once it goes up, in fact, there the savikalpaka samadhi becomes nirvikalpaka samadhi instantly. And it's a very, very thin line. And once you get into that anandam is incomparable. And any problem happens, even if somebody cuts your hand, cuts something, if you can relate with that in a second, I don't care anything. Let the whole world, whatever they say, whatever they do, how does it matter to me? Yeah, I'm not that. There are many incidents, many great Mahatmas, those who had got into this Nirvikalpak Samadhi, their life experience also highlights same concept here, what is being taught. It's worth listening to that from this angle. Then he says, look, in that state, that situation, Yogi Suraha, the one who knows yoga, the master of yoga, is in Tanmaya state. So might means here Prachur, full of thatness, completeness, fullness. At least start practicing asana and do asana siddhi. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, all of you.